Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice, change and action, along with the phenomenal guests I have on here. From a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The planet has been a constant inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me the tools to know that anything is possible. And I keep choosing. What are you going to choose? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. You are with Simone, your host, Simone Milasas. And today I have my guest on here is, how do you say your last name? Shayna
Fernando, like the ABBA song.
Fernando. Oh, I love it. I love it. Like the ABBA song. Perfect. So welcome to Shayna. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So today I wanted to talk about bodies and the changes that can show up in your body if you choose, etc. And Shayna, you've had a massive change in your body. It's been so friggin' awesome to watch. And what's your Instagram handle? Can I just pass that on if anyone wants to check it out?
Shayna Fernando.
Shayna Fernando. Okay. And we're going to have it in the show notes as well. And what I've noticed is like what I've noticed with you and seeing this, because you pop up on the social media, it's like you see everything, and it's like, I mean, someone once said to me, if you're being watched, don't think that nobody's looking at your social, everyone's watching you. And I'll never forget that. And I remember telling my kid that, going, don't forget, people are watching, like, what are you putting up, etc. So I have been watching your quote unquote journey with your body, or whatever you want to call it. And so I want to ask you a few questions so the main thing that I've noticed, obviously, is that you have lost a hell of a lot of weight, like a lot of weight. So First off, how much is that? Do you know?
I started at 150 kilos plus, just over, and I'm now 71. So I've lost more than half of my body weight. I weigh less now than I've lost.
That's incredible. Yeah. And so if you're listening to this around the rest of the world, 150 kilos, it's got to be over 300 pounds, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's go with that. You look it up. If you want to find out how much it is, you look it up. One of those little things that goes, kilos to pounds, but it's a hell of a lot. So first off, I wanted to sort of travel down this road with you, is like, how did you get to that weight? Like, what do you think was the place of why you chose to be that weight?
I think it was a lot of things. I've definitely always been bigger, and part of that growing up was that the family that I was born into, like, they lived very differently to what I live now. So I was used to eating certain foods. That was what was fun for me back then. The people around me, that's what they did, and it's what I knew. I didn't know enough then, I think, to go looking for something different. I just assumed that was going to be my happy, because it made me happy. I love food. I assumed it was going to be my happy forever. And it's only now that I've really given myself permission to go looking for something different. I've found that there's things that I love even more, and that's really changed that for me.
Okay, this is great. Thank you. There's a couple of things I want to pick up on here. Is one, when you said that it's like that you were always bigger. I can't tell you how many people I've heard say that. It's like they go, well, I was always bigger. And it's like, so as a child, for whatever reason, whether it was, like you said, your family wasn't exactly, offering you, the best nutritional sort of side of things, or even education on it. So you go, oh, I was always bigger. So can you speak to that energy when whoever's listening to this and they go, oh yeah, but I've always been bigger. I've always been bigger. I mean, that was myself as well. I was like, oh, I've always been bigger. And then when I looked at photos of myself at school, and I went, I actually wasn't bigger. Like I'm 5'9". I'm actually a big frame as well. So it's like, but I thought I was much bigger than what I actually was. But I had that point of view of I was always bigger. So can you speak a little bit to that, and how anyone who's functioning from that point of view, it's like, what could they do and be to change that?
I think definitely when you do function from that point of view, it kind of locks you into that thinking that you can never change it. Like, I've always been this way, I'm always going to be this way. And then you're in that loop, and it stays like that forever. And I think whether you were always bigger or whether you just thought you were always bigger, like physically, I definitely was. I weighed what my husband weighs when I was 10 years old. So I know that I was, but as a little girl, I didn't understand that. Like, I knew I was different. I knew I looked different to the other kids, but I didn't really get the logistics behind that. But I knew I was always like that, and it always felt like that. And I definitely fell into that thinking, if I've been like this for this long, I'm going to be like this forever. All of the people around me, my mum had continued that path as well. So it's what I thought was inevitable. And I think if you can break out of that, whether you have been bigger, whether you think you've been bigger, knowing that it doesn't have to be that way forever, that you can choose something else, is a big, big changer.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to just run a couple of clearings here, like from Access Consciousness, and then I want to ask you about like what was that sort of made you change? Because as you're talking, I can hear people sort of go, oh, like you said, it's inevitable. And it's like, so if you're listening to this, please know that you can make a change. You can make a change in any area of your life. Like, you like, we're talking about bodies, but you can pick this up and then put it into money, because some people go, oh, I'm always going to be poor, I'm always going to be this. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that either. So it's in all these different areas of your life that I see people, think they have a problem and think that it's inevitable and think that they cannot change it. It's not true. So all of the emotional POVADs, which is all the places that you've been avoiding and defending, that it's inevitable, that this is your destiny for life, like this is what you have to live by, this is your body, you can't change it, etc. Will you now please revoke, recant, rescind, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate everything that is, times a godzillion, right, wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. And that's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. You can find it on theclearingstatement.com if you want to find out more about it, if you've just tuned in, because if you've been listening to my podcast, you'll know. And just FYI as well, if you want to go to YouTube, we're now on YouTube as well. So if you're listening to this and you want to actually see me and Shayna, you can do that. We'll be on YouTube too. So, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like, just go pock and pot everywhere that I've decided I cannot change something. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. So what was it where you went, I can change this? I can choose something different?
I think for me, becoming a mum was a big part of the change beginning. Being a mum was something I doubted myself capable of for a really long time. And when I actually had babies, I felt like I could do anything. Like,
that's so cool. Yeah.
I'd never felt so strong, and strong wasn't something I was used to feeling. And it didn't even make sense that I should feel strong, especially having my little girl. Like, I was in hospital in intensive care, and I felt like I could take on the world. And I also knew then that I wanted to be here. I was risking not being here. The doctors are like, you should be dead. And I'm like, I've just had a baby and I'm not gonna die. I want to be here. I want to live, and I want to really live. Like, I don't want to just be here sitting on the sidelines watching my kids grow up. Like, I want to be here. And I don't think I'd wanted to be here like that until then.
That's so sorry, you just like, that's so cool, that because they can so perceive the energy of the demand in your world, like that you want to be there for another being.
Yep.
It's cool.
Yeah.
What a good mom. You're a great mom. Make me cry. Okay, so then what next? What did you choose next?
For a little while, I didn't choose anything. So I came home, I had a new little baby. I was still technically unwell, and I had to sit with that.
So why were you unwell? Like, what was the unwell? Like, was it due to weight, or is it due to other stuff?
It was. So due to my weight, I had some really intense blood clots. So I had a deep vein blood clot stretching from my ankle to my belly button. It had gone through my heart and technically should have killed me more than once. And for me, that was really, it was really big because I had watched my mum almost die of the same thing and be brought back by paramedics 3 times. And
Wow.
she had one, I had 40% of my lungs full of them. So
Wow.
it really hit home for me. Like, that was a big physical thing that my body should not be here, but it wanted to be. So I came home, I had my new little baby, I had a toddler as well. And for a while I chose nothing. I just had to sit in that space and get used to having another baby. And I still had that energy, I guess, of I want to change things. I don't want this to be forever. I want to take the strength that I could feel in hospital and make it my whole life. Like, I wanted it to be a bigger feeling than it was. I wanted it to wrap more things than it was just sitting there. So it probably took me 18 months thinking about what I could choose next. and then I chose really fast. I was like, I need to change my body. I want to change my body. I had all of these asks in my world that I thought were impossible. And they were impossible based on society's opinion of what you can do and what you can't do. For me, I remember scrolling through Instagram looking for someone who'd lost a lot of weight, like from the size that I was. And every time I would see someone, I'd be like, they've done it, it's possible. And then I'd see that they'd had weight loss surgery, which is fine. But when I thought about what I wanted to choose, that wasn't it. So every time I saw that they'd done it, I would get excited, and then I'd see that's how they'd done it, and I would go back into it's impossible. But I knew that it wasn't. So I wanted to keep choosing, even though I didn't have that example of someone else has done it. I'm like, I'm going to be the person that when someone else like me is scrolling through Instagram looking for somebody who's done it, they can find me and I can be that for them. So I booked a tour at a gym. Actually, I tried to, and they wanted me to come in person, and I was like, I can't come in person. I was so nervous. I didn't feel like I was worthy of going to a place like that, because I thought only people who were already where I wanted to be should go to a gym.
Right.
And I sent a lady a message and I was like, I'm nervous to come in. And as soon as I was honest about that, everything that I needed showed up. She told me when I could come in, when there wouldn't be people there. She told me how I could do it in a way that would work for me. So it didn't have to be the typical come in for a tour, we're going to introduce you to all the people, you're going to see all of the equipment, you're going to do everything today. I was able to step it out, and that was really important for me. And I remember I went and I got my husband to wait in the car park because I needed to know that I had an escape, because
I love that. If I want to run, I can run. Yeah. Keep the engine going.
I didn't know if I was going to see it through. And I also didn't know what to wear. It was such a big day. I was like, do I have to go in gym clothes because I'm going to the gym? Do I have to look sporty to go to a sports place?
Right.
And I didn't have any of that stuff. So I remember I wore my brightest yellow dress because I was like, surely everybody will just look at my dress and not notice me, that I shouldn't be in this gym. And I went, I think I was shaking the whole time, but I signed up that day, and then the gym closed the next day because of COVID.
Oh, yeah. Okay. God, you got all that, mustered up all that energy. Okay. Yeah.
But it actually, even just making the choice, so I couldn't then physically go back to the gym, but I chose.
You made a choice.
And every day my husband helped, and we live near a big hill, and I was like, let's go for a walk up that hill. And we went the very next day, everything was closed. We went for the walk and I could only make it halfway. and we had to turn around and come back. So that was all I did that first day. But then we kept doing it every single day. And a week later, we made it up the hill. And it was such a big deal, like, because I knew that even though I couldn't go back to the gym, I'd signed up, that was happening, that was in motion, and I could do things in the meantime. So I kept choosing, I kept trying. I saw progress, which was really big for me, knowing that I could get to the top of the hill. There's a waterfall at the top of the hill, and I felt like I had gifted that to my family. Like they got to see the waterfall because I finally made it to the top of the hill. So there were all of these little gifts along the way that I think kept me going and reminded me why I wanted to choose it in the first place, because sometimes you forget, like there are hard days where you don't want to go and do the things, but I had all of those things along the way that kept me going.
So you said that. So when did you start this? Like when you chose, because that's not that long ago. So you've lost how many kilos on average have you lost per month, or that's a lot?
Yeah, it is a lot. I have literally lost pretty much every week. And it's slowing down now because my body's getting to.
Well, you're 71 kilos now. Your body's like, okay, we might be done.
But I've been doing it for 2 years. So
wow. That is so impressive. I am so impressed. And I'm impressed with the energy that I would really like people to get here, and how I've seen you on Instagram, you know, social media, Shayna, is that like that story of the hill. It's like you kept choosing. It's like, and the fact that you even gave yourself that 18 months to sit in the space, to know that you desired to choose something different. Yet what I see occurs a lot with bodies is people go, oh, I mean, New Year's Eve is one of those crappy things, you know, when people go, oh, this year I'm going to stop eating chocolate, or this year I'm going to stop drinking, or this year I'm going to, you know, I'm going to lose like 2 kilos a week or something. And then 5 days in, they're like, oh, fuck it, you know, and whatever. And it's like, so, I mean, I was listening to this interview with Warren Buffett a while ago, and they said to him, why do you think people don't listen to you about how to create wealth? And he said, because most of them want to get rich overnight. It's not like that. It's a marathon. And to me, what I'm hearing the way you're talking as well is it was changing your point of view, like changing your point of view around you, your body, and your choices, and also not looking at anyone else for a reference point. Like when you said, you know, this, you went, oh, this is impossible. You couldn't find a reference for it. And yet it was like, you know, that this is actually possible because you can choose it. And to me, that power and potency of choice and no judgment is like, wow, it's just huge. Like, so if you're listening to this, it's like, please, it's like, go check out, you know, Shayna's Instagram, etc., and have a look at, like I said, whether this is with your body or whether it's with something different. It's like, know that you can choose by your very choice. You get to choose a different reality. You get to choose what your life looks like, because you are where you are now because you chose it. And is that working for you? Is something I ask a lot. And it's like, what is it that you would like to choose that's different? And know that everything is possible. I mean, I notice a lot at the moment that, you know, there's things on, you know, Instagram or social media or whatever you find it. And it's like, it's the big thing of like, oh, once you get to a certain age, you can't lose weight. And I was actually looking at this last night and I went, that is so like, not true for me. I want to say that because I don't want to say it's bullshit. It's like, I want to say it's not true for me. Like one of the things I've noticed is my body has changed so much over the last, you know, few years as well. And I judged it so harshly for so long. Like it was like, you know, wake up in the morning. Okay. You know, how many judgments can I have of you today? You know, and this litany of judgment in my body. And then I realized, God, if I actually stopped judging my body, then what else could show up? And that was like one of the hardest things. It wasn't about giving up a certain type of food. It wasn't that piece for me personally. It was changing the point of view about my body, that it was like, start being grateful for it. And literally like every morning when I'm lying in bed, you know, and you guys can do this, it's like, I'll put my hands on my body somewhere. And I'm just like, hey, morning. Because it's like, it's me and my body here. It's like, hey, you know, and have this kindness and this nurturing and this caring for my body. And I will always ask a question, something like, you know, what would it take for today to be greater than yesterday? And start to listen to my body rather than override it. And for me personally, I know that somewhere in my world, in the insane judgment world I had, was if I override it enough, then it will do what I want. And it's like, my God, if you think about your best friend and if you're constantly yelling at it and going, no, that's not right, you know, your best friend would run away. And it's like, and I don't know what crazy, insane point of view I had that if I kept overriding it, it would change. And now I realize, God, when I listen to my body, whew, the ease is just like, wow, there's something much greater. Like there's these doors that, you know, my body, universe, consciousness opened up and went, hey, here's the rainbows and unicorns. They do exist. You know, there's something brighter on the other side of that hill. There's a waterfall up the top of that hill always. And so I would like to invite you, no matter where you are at with your body, it's like, what if you started with stop judging it? Because to me also, it's the size is not relevant. I mean, we spend so much time looking at the image of our body, and it's like, that's not relevant. And I'd love to, I'll ask you a question about that in a second, because to me, that's not relevant. No body is the same, literally. And you know, you spend your entire life apologizing for what you've created, you know, whether it's the way you look, your age, or, you know, the color of your skin, or too many freckles, or, you know, whatever it is that you've decided is wrong about your body. What if it's not wrong? And what if you start asking a question of what's right about me and what's right about my body that I'm not getting? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive what's right about you and your body, will you destroy and uncreate it? Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. So I want to ask you too about, like, when you, I mean, I love this, love how you referred to when you had kids, that's when you went, I want to be here.
Yeah.
So it's like, what were, like, how did you, was that the main choice? Like, I mean, like, coming out of judgment of your body, like I noticed you were nodding when I was talking about this. So how was that for you, having judgments of your body and then coming out of judgment of your body? And how's that sort of journey been, those choices?
It's definitely still in progress.
Well,
But
actually, yeah, I want to say that I'm not 100% out of judgment with my body. I don't know anyone who's 100% out of judgment with their body. You've sort of passed the baton. I used to do it with like weight and that, and then I went, oh, now I'm getting old, and I went, hang on, whoa, 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 whoa. It's like, you just can't pass this one to this one. It's like, what if there was no judgment? So it is a work in progress. Yes, I want to acknowledge that too.
yeah, it definitely is. And it's changed a lot even in this last week. So first, I would always judge myself because of the weight that my body was. And to fix that, I thought I had to chase a certain number. So I surpassed any number I was ever shooting for. And then I was kind of in that space of what next.
Yeah.
And I panicked a lot because I was like, I've been on this journey. People are watching because I've been doing all of this stuff. It had kind of, I thought, become me. That's who I was. And if I didn't have that, if I got to the number and there wasn't anything else, what was I going to do next? And was I just going to disappear?
Yeah.
So it had to shift from the number because there was nowhere else to go. And even last week I met with my nutrition coach. So I check in with her every week and just chat about food, which is interesting because I don't kind of have that opinion of good food versus bad food anymore. Like I definitely listen to my body, and I'll come to her and I'll be like, I ate like 1 million pears this week. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. And it does. Like my body follows what it requires in that moment. So I love that. And also the scales had been exactly the same for 4 weeks, which is the first time I'd seen that it had stopped moving. And I was starting to panic inside that it was done, that I was done and that was it. And I got on the scales, it moved a tiny bit, and then I got off and I said to her, I was worried that I was done. And she said to me, she said, well, what does that look like? Is it a number? Is it a look? And she said, answer me before you can think about it. And I was like, well, it's not a number. And that was a weight lifted off of me, because I thought, like, society tells you to chase this number. And I couldn't do that anymore. So as soon as I said it's not a number, I was like, oh. And
your body could breathe, actually. I noticed that your body just went, yeah, give up the number.
It was such a big deal. And then I said, and I don't think I can chase a look. and the words fell out of my mouth and they felt so clunky, so heavy. But I had decided, because I had always been larger, I now look different. Like, I have a lot of loose skin that used to be full. And I don't envision myself ever being able to look like what magazine says are fit, or what social media says is fit, like that look. So I'd said, I don't think I can chase a look. And I walked out and I thought, but that's not true, because for the first time, I look in the mirror every morning, and for a long, long time, I never saw anything that I liked, nothing. And I look in the mirror now and I have shoulders that I'm so proud of. And they're muscly and they look, I never would have dared ask for shoulders that look like my shoulders right now.
Right.
And I'm so proud of them. It's a visual thing. And I don't think it's true that I can't ask for something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though I said I can't chase a look, I walked out of there and I said, that's not true. And I came back this week and I have a new target for myself, which is entirely physical and look based, and felt really vain to tell anybody, but I did. And I'm so excited about it. And now I'm going to see what's possible. So my bum is like flat and there's a whole heap of loose skin back there, and I don't know what it will look like or what it will unfold, but I'm gonna chase it. And I want a bum just for me. It's just for me, just for fun. It's not for anybody else.
Yeah.
So I've called it Operation Build a Bum, and I'm gonna see what I can do.
Oh, I love that, Operation Build a Bum. And so one of the tools that Shayna just mentioned, Access Consciousness, we talk about is just for me, just for fun, don't tell anyone, even though we're announcing it on a podcast. but the whole idea of that tool is, because a lot of the times people will share something and what they're looking for is somebody to, like, weirdly, somebody to negate it or project some judgment at them, so that they go, oh, I see, I couldn't do it. Like, most people love this joy of failure, rather than, to me, it's like when you're like chasing, this something else, like that, your words of using that, like, I'm chasing this, chasing that, etc. It's this enjoyment that I can perceive in your world of like, wow, what the fuck else is possible? Like, nothing is impossible. And it's like, will it show up the way you would like it to? Who knows? It's like, it might be something, completely different. Like, I love the fact that you just looked at your shoulders and went, yeah. I was actually talking about I've got a shirt on now that you can't see, but I was talking about my collarbones the other day, and I was like, I love the way my collarbones look, especially when you're in a certain angle, and it's like they just stick out and they're like, hello. Like, like, to me, it's really sexy. So it's like, okay, great.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to invite all of you guys listening here too. It's like, to look at, what is it that you would like to ask for? Like, Shayna's using the word chase, which I love. And I'm going to put in there, like, what are you asking for? But not have this expectation that it has to show up like that. Because what that leads to is, like, if Shayna's going Operation Build a Bum, right? But you can tell the energy she's doing it from, like, hey, let's see what shows up, right? But if you haven't asked, or you're chasing something like that, but you've already decided it's not possible, and then you fill it with these judgments and these expectations that you project it yourself, or you receive them from other people, which always sets you up for the big judgment of like, you know what, I can't do it. And it's like, it's not true. So what if you actually asked for something and went, I have no idea what this is going to look like. I'm going to stop trying to control everything. And I'm going to, number one, stop judging me and stop judging my body. And I'm going to see what the hell can show up here. And let's have way too much fun being that energy with our bodies. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you want to add to this that people are listening? I mean, I love you talking about bodies here. So
I think just to remember that nothing is impossible. If you really want to choose it, you can. And
yeah.
when I started this and I walked into the gym in my yellow dress, I remember telling everybody, I'm going to do this. I'm going to lose this much weight, and you won't know me. And now it's happened. But when I said that, I think so much of me was saying it to keep myself accountable. but I didn't really think it was possible. I was going to give it my best shot, but I didn't think I would get there. And I've got so far past what I thought my body could do.
Yeah.
I'm discovering things that it can do that I never dared ask for. Like I'm asking for the funniest things. Like I have this list of things I want to be able to do. And one of them is to use the monkey bars at the children's playground. Because even as a child, I never did that. I could never do that. And now I know that I can do that. I used a flying fox and I was way more excited than the kids were. but
they're like, lady, get off the flying fox. There's kids here.
It took me like half an hour standing there holding on to this thing. And my husband's like, just jump. And I was like, I can't. He's like, just lift your leg. I was like, can't. But then I did, and it happened so quickly. And then I did it a million times. Like, I just try and show yourself. Like, you can think forever, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And you lift one foot off and it's done. And then there's all of these new doors that can open. And I'm doing all of these things. Like, I'm at the gym every day for at least 3 hours. And it's not a commitment for me.
Yeah.
I love it. It makes me happy. And I was the girl who couldn't, I wasn't a sporty person. I didn't do sport in school. I would take notes written by my mum that said I didn't have to do it, and I would sit on the side. And I didn't think that this world was one that I was allowed to be a part of. And now I know that I am. And I'm not just allowed, like, I can do things in that world that change things for other people and show people that other things are possible. And I love that. I go every day and it's such a gift to me. It's probably right now, it's probably the only thing that I choose entirely for me. And it makes me so, so happy. And there are other things in my world that need to shift around it. Like my work has to shift around it. My family shifts around it, but none of it's difficult because it's a choice that's making our world bigger. Everything just happens the way it needs to. And that's really, it makes it an easier choice. And I think when you choose something like this, it can be really hard, but it doesn't need to be. And it's been 2 years of constant choosing, but it's never felt difficult. And when you say to someone, I've lost 80 kilos, it sounds like something that should be difficult. And it's been 2, I think, of the best years of my life, not difficult.
Well, I just want to add something to this as well before we end the podcast is I've noticed too, it's like when you say you've lost 80 kilos and most people go to, which is weird, they go to, oh, it's about not eating. And I've watched.
I eat so much food.
I know. That's what I was going to say. I watched you like put up these beautiful plates of food that are on Instagram and I'm like, damn, that looks great. You know, like I think there's a picnic or something that you had the other day with your husband. I was like, that food looked amazing, you know? So it's like, you know, kibosh any of the, you know, the points of view that it's about not eating. I get what it's about is educating yourself about what actually works for your body as well. So yeah. So thank you for that. And I actually want to ask you, I haven't asked you this, I'm going to ask you live on the podcast. I am doing a series starting in July. And it's, if anyone wants to find out about it, you can go to SimoneMilasas.com/body series. And it goes for about 3 months. And I'm doing a call, I think it's every 2 weeks, and we have a whole bunch of things in there. But I would like to ask you to come on as a guest and speak to everyone on the membership, on the series, if you're up for that.
I would love to.
Good. Awesome. Okay. So if you want to check out the body series, like I said, go to SimoneMilasas.com/body series, and there'll be information in the show notes and stuff like that as well. So, because I'm really looking forward to exploring this as well. Because for me, if a few years ago, like 4 years ago, if you'd said to me, do a class on bodies, I would have like thrown up, been like, no, let me talk about money or business or something like that, but not bodies. And I'm having so much fun with my body, like more fun than I've ever had with my body in so many different ways. And I get like you too. It's like, what else? Well, what else? But not from this, like constantly having to chase something, just going, wow, I've I've actualized something different here. So now what else would I like to play and be with my body? So I also want to add, I love that you did that. You've got that list. So if you're listening to this, and whether you come along to anything else or not is up to you, but what if you wrote down 10 things that you would like to do, 10, 20 things that you would like to do with your body that you've decided is impossible? And what if you just start chipping away at that? And even could be, if you write them down, like looking at that list and destroying and uncreating all the judgments you have of that you can't do it. Because that's the first piece. If you've got to get over the judgment. And then, like Shayna said, just put one foot out. Boom. Oh, look there. I'm letting go. Done. It's like, because this is, I mean, the world is a glorious place and the earth is a glorious place. And there's so many adventures that we can have. There's a whole lot of, governments and whatever. It's like, that's a whole lot of shit that's going down, but we don't need to be that. We are much greater than that. So we get to be us, the infinite beings here on planet Earth. What are we going to choose? Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm so grateful for you. And like I said, we will have the Instagram handle on here so that you can go and explore all of her yummy food that she has. And I'm definitely going to be asking you to talk about that too on the body series, because I found that incredibly refreshing. And yeah, so thank you so much. Stay here for 1 second, but I'm going to close off to everyone. So thank you so much for joining us here. Please follow, subscribe, do all of that, share it with your friends. And thanks for being here, Shayna.
Thank you.
Bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at SimoneMilasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.